An innovative participatory technology was introduced in Andhra Pradesh from October 2001 onwards. In several districts, this technology is already implemented, and in some districts, a start has yet to be made. Now, this is called innovative because we have certain new technologies introduced which were not there earlier, and basically this technology consists of cost effective works, vegetative works. This technology is called innovative because it consists of certain activities which were not done earlier, and most of these activities pertain to cost effective works, and there is no application of cement in any one of these activities in the watershed. They are mostly of earthwork excavation, revetment here and there, and rough stone apron. And another important component of this activity is the vegetative types of measures that will have to be undertaken in the watershed. Now, this is called participatory in the sense that the farmers can execute these works on their own initiative and imagination to their ideas by following the guidelines given to them. These guidelines have been formulated in such a manner that they can be easily understood by the watershed development committee members, and they can also prepare estimates for the various component works by making use of the ready reckoner tables given to them. Now, once the farmers understand these guidelines, which of course would require a certain amount of explanation in the beginning for about an hour or two, and once the farmers understand this, they can go ahead with the watershed developmental works without the help of any engineer or any scientist. Now, this watershed development according to this innovative and participatory guidelines was developed by me in the year 1994, and at that time I am named it as the four waters concept, because some name has got to be given to that. This name was given because the four waters available in nature are optimized in this concept. Now, what are these four waters? These four waters are: 1. the rainwater, 2. the soil moisture, that is water available in the shape of soil moisture, 3. groundwater, and 4. surface water. When the watershed developmental activities are carried out with this concept, certain beneficial results will flow in the watershed with regard to the water as a core unit. Now, whenever watershed developmental activity is done, we look forward for certain results on the water domain. The various results that have to flow on account of watershed development works can be listed something like this. Number 1, the main stream in the watershed will have to flow with base flows or spring flows. That means even much later than the rains stopping, there should be some flow in the stream, and this we call it as spring flow. For example, the rains stop with the month of October, let us say by month of October. Then there should be flows in the stream like spring flow even up to month of March or April. And when this happens, there is a certain amount of water availability during the non-rainy period to meet the basic requirements within the watershed. Usually, the streams coming from well-wooded forests do have the base flows during the non-rainy period. So, we are just trying to imitate the natural dense forest condition and try to create the water resource in a similar manner to that of the well-wooded forest. So, this is the first aspect, that is, we have to make the main stream almost perennial and ensure the base flows to occur in the mainstream even during the non-rainy period right up to summer. But the second result that has to flow in the watershed is the runoff water coming out of rainfall should be less turbid than what it was before. Now, what do we understand by less turbidity? Supposing the watershed activities were not carried out, and it was the earlier observation that whenever it rains, the flood water will have lot of mud in that, lot of floating silt and mud particles in that. So we call it turbid. That's an indication that there is soil erosion taking place in the watershed. And when you do the watershed development, which includes soil conservation works, we have to prevent the soil erosion, and the runoff water has got to be as clear as possible, and it should be less turbid at least. Now this is the second item. Now the third point is that the dug wells in the upland areas should have water even during summer. Normal practice, what we observe in the drought prone areas is the open dug wells in the upland areas will have some water during rainy period, and it will almost go dry by end of November or December, and there won't be any water in the well during the period January to June. So this is the feature, and this feature has got to be altered by means of this watershed developmental activities. And when it is altered, the situation is that the dug wells will have enough groundwater even during summer period. It should not go dry. So the third indication that has got to be achieved, or third result that has got to be achieved, is that we should have groundwater in all the open dug wells located in the upland areas even during summer. Now the fourth is nearly 30% of the rain-fed area we have to give irrigation facility for one light irrigated crop. Presently the irrigation facility is around 8% of the rain-fed area. This has got to be increased from 8% to 30% by ensuring sufficient amount of groundwater in the watershed area. This is the fourth result. And the fifth result is that we have to ensure water resources even during a drought year. Now, it's every person's observation that in the drought prone areas, we get droughts once in a while. Could be once in 3 years or could be once in 4 years, severe droughts. And these droughts were occurring earlier, they are also occurring now, they are going to occur in future also. These are all meteorological events on which we have no control. And when the droughts occur, we have to ensure that the minimum essential requirements are met through groundwater. The watershed developmental activities carried out should lead to this result. Earlier, without the watershed development, our own observation is people were migrating for want of drinking water. People were selling away the cattle or taking away the cattle from that area to other areas. There was migration of men and animals, and there was heavy loss for the perennial crops or the horticultural crops. Now it has got to be ensured through the watershed development that even during a drought year we have to meet the requirements of drinking water and the requirement of water for animals and the water requirements of perennial and horticultural crops. So this is the basic requirements which have to be met during a drought year. If we have a review of the various watershed activities that were conducted right from 1970 onwards, during the 70s it was started, from then onwards supposing we review, these 5 results were not achieved in most of the watersheds. That is due to a technology deficiency, and that deficiency is sought to be filled up now. And when we follow this technology, it was observed that all these 5 results were achieved when it is implemented in a proper manner. Now when this is implemented, as I have said, it has resulted in development of various activities properly. Now, let us analyze what are these various activities. The various activities are rural developmental activities. In a watershed, if you do the rural developmental activities, the activities will have a synergistic effect when there is core input of water. When there is no water available for these activities, then these activities will not be done properly. So, the important thing here is the core input of water has got to be made available for any rural developmental activity to become successful, and this is made possible in areas already where this technology has been implemented. Then once you talk about the technology, next the immediate question that would come up is, will technology alone be able to solve the problem? Here I would like to give a caution that technology alone cannot accomplish anything. It is the spending of grants, funds properly, I will rate it as number one requirement. That is, without misappropriation of the funds, the activities will have to be executed. The second thing is there should be a very good participation of the stakeholders, the beneficiaries. Now, unless the participation is there, we cannot work any technology. Whatever may be the technology, it has to be with participation only. So, therefore, the technology works only when proper utilization of funds is there and when participation is very good. It cannot stand alone. So, this has got to be understood in this context, and when I say this participation is important in this technology, I mean that participation has to come up from the villagers with their ideas and utilizing the guidelines. It should not be as if it is an imported technology to them, making them use cement and making them take to costly works and things like that. So, they are all simple works, and they are all vegetative, and they are all simple works which have got to be done under this concept.